Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in this video we're going to look a little more at tool organization. Uh, I just recently picked up a couple of sets of nut drivers. Uh, I, I had a few odd and end nut drivers, but didn't have a complete set, so I picked up a set of metric and of imperial. Now we know we can take the little 1/4 inch driver that comes with a socket set. This is S&K Tools, one I've had for a right good while, and put a socket on it and use it as a nut driver. But the advantages of an actual nut driver is that hollow shaft. So if you're going after a stud, especially on electric motors, where you've got a terminal down in the wiring housing that's got a nut down on the stud. Nut drivers work real good for that. So I picked up a couple sets, nothing fancy about them, but I think they'll serve my purpose obviously here in the Tin Barn. The issue of storage though came in when I went to looking at one of my tool drawers, and where I had my odd and end ones, where there was only 3 or 4 I think of them, if I tried to put these two sets in there, it was just a jumbled mess. And I'm not OCD, but about that much. And I don't like going to a tool drawer, opening up the drawer, and have to sort through 14 or 15 different items to find the one I want. I like to be able to open the tool drawer and pick up a wrench I want, pick out a socket that I want, or whatever tool I may be going for. So I got to thinking a little bit, and I've got a rack that I made many years ago that I hold my files in. And I thought about doing something like that for these socket drivers. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me zoom you in and I'll show you what the initial setup is going to be. My initial thought was to get something like I've got on the pegboard back here. Hold my scissors, nips, pliers, and a couple of Phillips and a flat screwdriver. But these came in, every one that I found came in a set of six mounted together. I did find some loose ones, but to be honest with you, every loose one that I found, loose sets of individuals, had terrible reviews on them. So again, I decided to go to something similar to what I had for that file organizer. These being 6, and each one of these sets of nut drivers have 7. This is the SAE set, Imperial set, and this is the metric set. What I've got is a piece of 1.25 inch square aluminum stock. We're going to set this up on the mill, and using end mills, we're going to mill out some holes that are close to being the size of the head. Obviously there's a difference between the 3/16 and the 1/2 inch in the diameter. So what we'll be using is 4 different end mills. Be 1 this size, 2, 2, and 2. So let's get turned over on to the mill. I'll set this workpiece up and we'll start milling some holes all the way through. Okay, I'm set up over here on the mill now, and I'm sure some are going to wonder, well, first let me tell you my overall length for the piece that I need, with 1.5 inch space in between each nut driver. I needed a piece 21 inches long. And this is mill is a 7-inch Y, 27 on the x-axis, or it's labeled as a 727, and it is a 27-inch table. So why not set this 21-inch piece up in the center so I could do it all in one setup? If I've got any complaint about this mill whatsoever, and for the size and for what it's meant to be, I think it does an excellent job. I've been very pleased with it. I've had this, I guess, close to 4 years now, if not a little over 4 years. But the only complaint I have with this 27-inch table, there's 14 inches of travel. See, it's got a very wide base. That's one of the pluses on the Precision Matthews. The reason I chose this mill over some of the other import brands was how big the base was on it. But the larger the base means the table can't travel but so much. But there's 14 inches of usable space or millable space on the table. Now that may be proportional, may be the same proportions as larger mills. This is the only mill I've ever had any experience with other than my little X2. So I'm going to have to do this in 2 setups. Now also in the video where I made these pencil holders, and there'll be a video upcoming on these before long. I do have a batch ready for sale now. These pencil holders are made to resemble a revolver cylinder, but I'll be selling these to support the channel. Also, well, in this video where I made these, I got a lot of questions about this edge finder that I was using. And I'm going to be doing a video within the next couple weeks dealing with finding the center on the mill. It won't be a particular project, but it'll be various different ways. And one of the things I will include is this edge finder right here. It is an electronic edge finder available on eBay and Amazon, of course. Zero out the X. So you get a visual and an auditable response when you're on center. So now I'm going to get set up for the first end mill. And the first one we're going to be doing is a 3/8 inch end mill. All right, I zeroed out the x-axis there. So let's come in 0.750 to the first one. I'm coming the first one in 3/4 of an inch from the end, since I'm doing a 1/2 inch in between. Of course, 3/4 is half of the 1.5 inches. And by the way, I'm already set up on center on the y-axis. Now, I only plan to do one 3/8 inch hole for each set, but I can reach the other 3/8 hole at this time or in this setup, so I'm going to go ahead and move on down there. And that should be at the 10.5 inch mark. I did reset 0 after I moved into 3/4 of an inch. Double check my math there. Yep, 10.5 inches, okay. And I do have a jack out here under this end, or under both ends. And there's the 1.5 inch mark. We'll need to move this jack right here a little bit. All right, let me switch out the end mills, and then I'll do a couple more holes on camera and then finish it up off camera. All right, I've got the next size end mill in, which in my case is a 1/2 inch. So let's move down to our 1.5 inch mark. And we should be at 3 inches on the DRO. All right, now we're ready for the next size. Now point out here, these are not center cutting end mills. However, what is happening here is as it's cutting down, there's just enough relief on these toward the center that it actually cuts out a little disc. So we'll change over to the next size, which in this case is 9/16. And I do have the 0 set on the y-axis. So now we'll move over to 4.5 inches. And again, all I'm doing is watching the DRO for 1.5 inch increments in between each setup. The last end mill we'll be using is 11/16. All right, so now I'm going off camera. I'm going to move this down, get set up for to drill the 6 holes, the 6 remaining holes over here. Then we'll go back to the workbench and look at the next step. All right, I got the remainder of the holes drilled on both ends. Of course, they're all the way through. I also, I deburred them and then ran the stone across them just to flatten the surfaces good. And off camera, I carried them over to the drill press and drilled a hole 3/8 from the end, in the middle, and then 3/8 from the other end. Now before I actually mount this on the wall, I'm going to carry it outside, give it a nice coat of good flat black paint, let it dry and cure good, and then we'll wrap this or mount this on the wall and wrap this video up. Okay, I got the piece painted. I've actually come up here ahead of time, marked me some screw holes level. Now I'm going to be using these drywall screws. These 3-inch drywall screws. And of course they've got a countersink style head. So what I did over on the lathe, I just took a piece of 3/8 inch aluminum, drilled my 11/64 hole just to make a countersink for that head. And behind the rack, I've got these 7/8 inch long spacers. I don't want the rack to be tied up against the wall. That will make it somewhat difficult to get the pieces out or get the nut drivers out if they're up against the wall. So I'm going to put this spacer behind it. I'm about run out of wall space here in the 10 born, so I had to kind of find a spot, and I am putting this up a little bit high. These nut drivers are not something I'll be using every day, but they'll be just above eye level, which should be fine. Okay, I know I got 3 screws out, but I can't find but 2 of them now. Got another one over on the workbench. Alright, so now we can load up our rack. Alright, there's a 3/16, quarter, 5/16, 11/32, 3/8, 7/16, and a half. And guys, I don't know what's so hard for you metric folks to understand. I mean, 3/16, quarter, 5/16, 11/32, 3/8, 7/16, half. Over here on the metric side, we go 6mm, 7. I may have it a little bit too high. I'm having to look up, but I think for today this will be fine. There's 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now, how is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 any easier than 3/16, quarter, 5/16, 11/32, 3/8, 7/16, and a half? Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one.